A man described to a mystic a reputed event that was most unusual, bordering on the miraculous, and asked him, "Do you understand it?" To which the mystic replied, "Yes." Then the man asked, "Can you explain it?" To which the mystic replied, "No." Second version. A man described to a mystic a reputed event that was most unusual, bordering on the miraculous, and asked him, "Do you understand it?" To which the mystic replied, "Yes." Then the man asked, "Can you explain it?" To which the mystic replied, "No, I can't. But don't take the I part personally or look at the event specifically, for no one can explain anything. And only the unknowing try." When one man discovered himself in a locked room, he thought, "Geez, now the jig's up and everything's ruined." See, he said that because now he was forced to face head-on where he was, what the problem actually consisted of, and what efforts henceforth would be useful and which ones would be foolish. "Geez," he reiterated, "now all the fun's been taken away." See, his idea of what's fun is what you and me would call what's futile. "Geez," again thought the man, who now knew he was in a locked room. "Thanks bunches. Whoever it is I have to thank for this bit of unexpected liberating information." See, now he's beginning to stir just a little from his previously comfortable captivity. Good evidence of your normalcy and civility is whether you can listen to people, just as dumb as you, talk ignorantly about things they do not understand, and nod, intelligently appearing, along with their comments. "Hey, what do you think makes the world go round?" "No, not a wind-up motor." In his locked room, one man built a library. And in his locked room, he constructed a science lab. And in his locked room, replicated the academy. All in all, in his locked room, he reproduced the entire world of man. But it was still a friggin' locked room, just like the entire world of man. So I guess there was that justice in it. The boy asked his father, "What do allegories represent?" "Nothing," replied the old man. "Oh," said the lad, "same as the literal. You got it," acknowledged the elder fart. "On one planet there are two types of sacred scripture, the kind that's serious and means nothing, and then the other kind." Want to know why the two most popular pastimes of men have always been meditating and boozing? A guy scanning through the 8 or 10 television stations available through the standard over-the-air reception sat and thought, "I'm either signing up for satellite and 300 channels, or I'm giving up TV altogether." Huh? That didn't explain it to you enough? Okay. Why can men cure the more serious flu, but not the less so common cold? What? You still don't get it? Well, damn. All right. Why is it easier to die than to live? And just in case this one also doesn't take, quick then, why is it more fun to be ignorant and confused than knowing and clear-sighted? Now, everyone knows the answer to that one. Myth tells of a strange cult that once appeared on this planet, who claimed that after you die, you're given a choice of either becoming a ventriloquist, if you think that's possible for man, or a ventriloquist dummy, if you believe that more likely. Well, at any rate, you don't have to prove you believe either one to be, you don't have to prove that you believe either one to be exclusively true. All you have to do is say that you do. Just back when you were alive. In an apparent attempt at humor, a man said that his standards were so high that he wouldn't lower himself to dating any woman who'd go out with him. And the guy, upon hearing this, thought, "Damn, but I wish I could pull that shit on my mind." The boy's mom gave him this good motherly advice. No matter how much money you spend or how much you may dress her up, a locked room's still always going to be a locked room. Then simultaneously, over in another reality, a man touched dangerously close by realization thought, is this getting weird or what? It's now around to me having to hide my locked room inside a Playboy. And life's inner reality stupid monitor rapped on the door and yelled, all right, stop it. I know what you kids are doing in there. But on the other hand, if you will, one of the singular rewards of attempting to do such things as this is that it's really the only thing that a man can pursue about whose possible outcomes life doesn't care one way or the other. The first voice whispered, I like being alone. And a second said, that's good. That'll work out perfect. Plus, there's no need to whisper. One man labeled his mind's operations the restating of the known, obvious, and inconsequential. The sounds of locked rooms are in part the construction of locked rooms. In lieu of a lasso, one cowpoke used his tongue. One guy put a meter on his mind. Want to know what good it did? If you do, then you having one on yours wouldn't do you any good. Don't you just love it how everything works out even? As a matter of fact, I don't. The question was just rhetorical. Okay, then I don't rhetorically like it. One man attempted to start his own university, and when that didn't work out, began his own charitable university support foundation whose slogan was, men construct locked rooms and men can demolish locked rooms. But it didn't prove successful either, since no educated person was dumb enough to believe it. Concerning an event they had just witnessed, a boy asked his father, what's the odds of that happening? And the elder replied, why, you little shit brain, what's the odds of anything happening? And the lad could only assume that there was a message in there somewhere. And now the stock report. When hope finds itself in unfamiliar surroundings and is unsure what to do, it will often change its name to assumption. And one man who had several times stood unusually close to the edge of how things appear, but who had not stepped over, mused, I wouldn't mind so much the idea of mind death if I knew that after that I'd become a Shriner and go on a lot of out-of-town conventions and could race all around on a miniature motorcycle. And now the final scores. The grand prize in religion's bingo game is eternal life. I mean, the promise of eternal life. While the attempt to kill and then resurrect oneself has no payoff that I can tell you about. Sitting alone, one man said, I'm sick of it, thoroughly disgusted and sick of it, and was simultaneously aware to himself that he would not have been in such a position had he never started all of this in the first place. And a lady at the table about halfway back shouted out, okay, first place. Now that's more like it. Even if there is no grand prize, at least you can hand out a first place. It's great to so easily satisfy customers. What's the attention span here? So it was 30 seconds before we were talking about a bingo game that had no grand prize. Maybe we could revive what used to be popular, 40 or 50 years ago in movie theaters with sing-alongs, and they would flash the words up on the screen, and then they had little bouncing things so that you could keep up. Wait a minute. We could do that with our own mind. No, we don't go into that. Don't forget it. Sorry I mentioned it. Get some jujus or some gumdrops and throw them up front. Pick out little girls with long hair and chew up Milk duds. That's the way to do it. God will be proud of you. Only people who have not the slightest understanding of life fear being fooled or misled. Those who know that it's already too late.
Yeah.
A surefire normalcy test is whether you believe that you could be any dumber. Although it seems impossible looking back on it, but one man swallowed a hippo alive and whole and became conscious in an entirely new fashion. Actually, it wasn't really new, but I'm pretty much at a loss as to how else to describe it to you. Hey, rolling that mud from top to bottom. Why not use more cells, seeing as how you got them? You can rearrange the furniture in a locked room all you want to. One man's mind noted, the great thing about being a mind is that there are no laws against anything. And even if they are, it doesn't matter, because I made them up anyway. So there, it giggled, wishing it had a tongue to stick out at us. Though routine events, at least to an alert eye, show such a talent unnecessary for it to make its point. Dun, 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 dun. Confined to a locked room, one can concoct an infinite number of theories regarding locked rooms. Yeah, cried out a silent, unidentified voice. I don't have to spell freedom. I am freedom. Need I clue you that the key concepts here are silence and lack of identification, two foundations of freedom. Once you realize that the mind is a prison, you're home free. I wanted to dedicate tonight's program to the memory of Brunicelli and the 4,000-pound negotiation, about which I have nothing to say in tribute, because about which there is nothing that can be said. Do you realize that this small-time, limited activity, in fact, this sort of activity is probably the smallest subdivision, identifiable division of activity of interest possible in the human drama? Well, it would be, it'd be right below humble orchestra conductors and self-effacing neurosurgeons, but right below that would be the next smallest, the smallest group, I believe, would probably be people involved with such as this. But really, aside from that, I was going to ask, speaking rhetorically and theoretically as though everyone hearing me does have such an interest and have some idea what this is about, may I point out, in case you had never thought about it, not only is it the smallest, probably, identifiable interest in life, but it is absolutely singular on several fronts. If you look at it as a hobby, which everything's a hobby besides staying alive, compared to every other hobby, interest, damn, it's hard to know where to start. It's a pageantry from which to select. Well, let's say. Cover the obvious ones. It doesn't matter where you are, you can do it. And I guess related to that, it is really the only hobby that a man can do that requires no artifacts whatsoever. If you notice, for someone to actually be a true philosopher, you could not find a man who took philosophy seriously, who could indulge his interest to satisfy him, not us, but to satisfy him. Did he not have books of some sort of written ideas, the thoughts of other people? Religion, you might think, well, there's a hobby, there's an interest, just a man and God. But you can't see God, so there's something, you don't need anything. But again, I submit to you, think about it. It's a fact, not just me attempting to prove it. But those who take religion seriously would claim that they could not truly pursue their interest, worship their God, exercise their religion without certain artifacts. The obvious one being the scriptures again, but in many cases it would be certain icons, certain artifacts that they want to handle to have in their presence. All in all, this is the only hobby that a man could be absolutely on a desert island. Nothing's ever going to change. He is there alone forever, and it would make not one whit of difference to this hobby. Not one, not any. And there's no other hobby that a man can have, no matter how, again, that it might appear to be a truly internal affair, such as worshiping God or philosophy, or even psychology nowadays, trying to figure out humans. Consider also another obvious one, or it should be obvious, the way you feel, all the way from health to emotional condition, has nothing to do with it. Now, any other hobby, somebody could be the world's most passionate stamp collector, let's say. It's going to a different area. Now, if you don't feel good, I mean, you just wake up and you just flat don't feel good. Don't feel like getting out of bed. I mean, you got a bad flu or you got something worse I don't want to think about. You just get up in the morning and you are just the epitome of a philabber, whatever they are, a stamp collector. They just pulled out that word to make themselves seem more important because they know that most of us can't. It's not that we can't pronounce it. Nobody but stamp collectors have enough interest to remember what the name is. Philatelist. Seems to me that they picked one that was too close. This is my opinion. They didn't ask to platypus. But at any rate, somebody who truly enjoys it. There's nothing, I'm not making fun of the hobby. It doesn't matter whether I am or not. It made fun of you, so I just striking back on your behalf. A person can get up, a person can feel so bad that they cannot pursue their hobby. There could be the annual stamp show in their town. They could have tickets, or perhaps it's in Paris, and they've been saving all year to go, that it is the event. It may be the event of their lifetime. Maybe it's the some international one they only have once a decade. At any rate, a man wakes up that's got a serious case of the flu or kidney stones or something, and if you don't feel good, you cannot pursue the hobby. Even if a man drug himself there, you know what I'm saying, even if he drug himself to the convention with a flu, he could not fully enjoy the hobby. And it's understandable. I mean, to himself, he'd be aware of the fact, I am not getting, I almost wasted my time being here. At any rate, I am not actually participating in my hobby because of the way I feel. You can be sick doing this, and not only is it of no effect, if you know how to do it, it should be a benefit because it reminds you to do it. And if that's not enough, it's even better to be emotionally sick, to be heartbroken, to be offended. Just anything other than an actual physical trauma is some sort of so-called emotional trauma. It's good that somebody's insulted you, misused you, lied to you, done all the things that decent people are not supposed to do to other people. And they don't even have to do it, of course. All you got to do is imagine they did. And there it is. But it doesn't matter. It has no effect on your hobby. You can be laying in bed and you can be physically sick. It doesn't have to be just the emotional kind, which is pretty easy to imagine I'm making fun of, but you can actually be physically sick. And it, in fact, has nothing to do with this. Your body may be sick. You may be down with the flu and can barely drag around, but it has no effect. It has nothing to do with doing this. Social position, I guess, is too obvious. Wealth has nothing to do with it. Education or intelligence. Forget education, just what is normally referred to as intelligence. Well, I guess we all know. To compare this to ordinary events, I can't really discount education if someone ordinary was listening. But the thing is, it is well known throughout the history of this kind of activity that people with no education, people not known for their blinding intelligence by their contemporaries at the time, have found it no bar to doing this. But we're, assuming that they're up to the physical wiring norm in their brain. But past that, as far as having a genius IQ or having any great degree of education, specialized in some field, has nothing to do with it, evidently. Oh, something else. It's the only hobby about which a man does not have to discuss. You don't have to talk to other people about it. You don't go to conventions. I assume you catch the trick in that is you can't do it. So you can't be walking past people playing chess out in the park and go, I used to play chess, not a bad hobby, but boy, I found a better one. Because they say what? And you go, I'll be right back. And you have to leave. No discussions. You can't compare how you're doing to anyone else. I mean, like you can be a numble bumble list. Whatever those people are that collect coins. Bad enough what the stamp collectors did, and then these damn coin handlers come up with damn words with silent P's and N's and all that crap. At any rate, a man can truly enjoy collecting coins. It can be the center part of his life, but he is continually, again, it is not possible to be otherwise. It's just a matter of degrees. But it is not possible for a man to have any interest in life, whether you ever thought about it, not whether it be coin collecting or anything else. A man cannot, an ordinary man, which is, say, an ordinary mind, because it's minds and only minds that pursue hobbies. It's minds and only minds that do anything, that will get up and go up, get out of bed, get up from a prone position, that will get up and go do anything that doesn't involve sex or eating or running for your life, which sometimes the first and the third one I know do coincide, but I told you to stay away from your neighbor's wife anyway. Well, it was me or Moses told you that. Anyway, you're asking for it. But literally, anything that will make a man get up off the ground or out of bed, according to your social status and what you can afford. Anything that will make a man get up, and if it's not connected with eating or sex or running for your life, that you had to get up because a lion came over and looked like it decided, I'd like to lay right there. And you think, hey, no problem, I was leaving. If it doesn't have to do with running for your life, sex, or food, it is a mental hobby. No matter what it's called, religion, this, stamp collecting, whatever, bird watching. It's a mental, it's the mind's interest. It is not the body's. So, what I was saying, if you'd never thought about it this way, that being the case, every interest, every hobby but this, inescapably entails comparison of success, comparison of some kind. And this has nothing to do with pathological vanity or need to succeed. It's not that you are, if you're a coin collector, I'm not inferring that you're to the point that I know it could be in any hobby, that you're to the point that you are that you're acting irrationally by common standards on the basis that you have got to have some coin, or you've got to have some whole series of coins, or that some guy that you met at a coin show in Berlin 4 years ago had a coin that you didn't have and it's been driving you crazy. Not that. It could be that. But I'm saying just in the normal scheme of things, a man could be sitting home collecting coins by mail. But if he does it, he subscribes to magazines. If he's not out around other coin collectors, he'll subscribe to a magazine. He has to. Or he subscribe to a catalog. He has to if he doesn't go out. So he can be sitting there alone. But the mind will compare. It has to. The mind cannot operate without making comparisons of all kinds. So a man will compare, even if he has no other human in mind against whom he's trying to judge himself. He will, through reading the catalogs, catch on, or through reading the magazines, makes it plainer, but he could do it out of just the catalogs, that he would see what was listed, whatever his specialty. He got interested in pre-Civil War American coinage. And so he looks down and he compares what's available, what's still out there on the market, and what he has. More obvious one, of course, is he does get around other coin collectors, maybe even is in correspondence, and he compares himself. Again, perhaps not irrationally, not pathologically, not disturbingly so, but he compares when he finds that other people have 200 coins of that era, and he only has 100. Or he finds out that it's very common for people to have 50 of the same of consecutive years, or whatever. But he thinks, well, I need that. If he's interested in doing it, if you're outside the hobby, of course, you can laugh at all this, but if you're in the hobby, you've got to play along with the game. That's part of the hobby, part of the interest. And it's not possible to be in the hobby. It's not possible to pursue any interest that's mental without comparisons. This is the exception. Not only can you don't have any choice. Again, I point back to you that ordinary minds might say, well, that's not true because other non-physical, other spiritual or intellectual interest. Look at religious people. You can't be religious by yourself. You can't be religious. Well, even if you could by yourself, which you can't, by the way, if you took a religious person and put them on a desert island, back to that one I said only someone who's interested in this could survive, that is, survive with their hobby intact on a desert island and make no difference. If they never saw another human, never saw another book, once you realize what this is, it wouldn't make any difference. You've got everything you need. And so, back to that one for a second, a religious person might say, well, that kind of attempted communication between me, my personal communication with God, I could do it on a desert island. No, they couldn't. They'd lose all their religion. They'd go nuts, but they'd lose their religion. They'd lose interest in it. They could not be religious without at least one more person there. Now I'll put it to you another way. You can't be religious without comparing it. Get off the desert island back to ordinary conditions. You can't be religious without comparing it. For one thing, you compare whether you're being religious or irreligious, whether you're being, say, a Christian or a sinner, whether you're being a Muslim or a pagan. And you certainly compare, if you're an ordinary person, you're around the activity in some organized form, such as going to religious meetings and hearing some sort of lecture and some sort of comment, which is basically a hectoring. And you go, yeah, because they're pointing out, well, none of you people are doing right. And you go, yeah, I know. A philosopher can say, well, we don't stoop that low. This is a whole thing in my mind. No, it's not. And they'd say, yes, it is. I don't need anyone else. I could philosophize. I could pursue my hobby of philosophy on a desert island. No, they couldn't. They'd lose interest. They're continually comparing, even if they attempt, if they heard these comments, if they attempted then to hold it truly within themselves and make it a unilateral activity, they would still be pursuing it on the basis of this. If they could do it by themselves, which would only be fleeting, it would only be spasmodic and ephemeral, or ephemerally spasmodic, or spasmodically ephemeral. It's according to whether you're north of the equator or south of the equator. And don't flush while the plane is on the ground. Even if they could, for a second, do it, attempt to do it strictly within themselves, they would still, because of the mind would still be comparing their philosophical observations and musings on the basis, do these make any sense? Is this better than ones I thought before? Are these better than the ones that Bertie Russell had? Are these better than Wittgenstein? Am I doing better than anybody? Am I doing worse? Does this make any sense? If I told anybody, would they think I'm nuts? That. Do you understand? Back to what I said, once you see it, if it is a non-survival activity, then it is a hobby, and the hobby, all such hobbies are of the mind. And if they are of the mind, it will be dealing in comparisons, no matter whether they use the term comparison or not. Only this is free from that. Again, I repeat, once you know to some degree what you're doing, because if you don't know what you're doing, it's not free from it. But once you realize what this is about, you are freed from that because you're attempting to get free from the hobby itself. Let's see. Is that enough of a sales pitch? You know, it's strange. I was just trying to give a better view of this because the more stations that these videos are being seen on, the more we receive communication, and the more I'm approached on the street, and people just come up and they say, "Juice man, is it best if I do asparagus with cabbage or asparagus with carrots?" And of course, those who do not take that tack, they usually ask me, what happens when the app machine, begins to work on its own? Because I assume in some way they've mixed up ordering an app machine from talking to some psychic on the phone. I mean, they've got some demonized piece of cheap exercise equipment, I guess. But now I think about it, I guess they should be thankful that at least such demons have not got into their juicer. I'm sorry I brought it up too, but there were several that were connected to the same thing, news items several nights ago. One of them was, and I should have made it, or I could have made it, that it was the name of a school, or it was the one approach of one activity involved with such as this, and it was as follows, that a man should take everything he owns with him everywhere he goes. Everyone who understands enough of what this is about, it should make sense. If you could gather everything that you own, of course I'm not talking about physical possessions, but if you could gather all of your neural forces, if you could gather all of your attention, which you can at any particular moment, and you pulled it all together, and you looked at your brain, if you tried to feel your skull, your head, as being this volume of space in there, and right in the center, as you take everything you own, as though it were this locked room, and you take everything you own, and you pull it all right there together with you, and you stand right there, as though you're under attack, as though you might be under attack. Of course, the only attack you're going to be under is you become flaccid, is that you come apart, you become loose, and all your force just splatters out. But if you took everything that you own with you everywhere you go mentally, everywhere you go physically, it's a nice way to jog you to remember it, that you walk out of the house, you walk into the store, you walk across the floor to the next room, you just get to go to the bathroom, or you get to go to the kitchen to get a cup of coffee. Is every time you move physically, is suck up, bring together everything that you own right there in the center of that volume of your skull, as though it were this big locked room, and you take every piece of furniture, now we're of course allegorically speaking, everything in your mind, and you take every piece of furniture, stereo equipment, knick-knack, book, rug, dust, And you're going to get up and move just across the room or into the next room to the kitchen. But every time that you go anywhere, is you take everything you own and you pull it up together and you take it with you into the next room. And then you bring it back with you. You don't go anywhere without taking everything that you own with you. Of course, you do that all the time. But the difference is whether you do it willfully, whether you do it consciously. And when you do it, the only way to do it consciously is to pull it all together in one place. The only way you can do it is to be focused. I know that there are New Agers, and that term pops up every 2,000 or 3,000 years, be focused. It's not that they're on the wrong track, but it's taken as a mantra that you just say, be focused, and everybody goes, yeah. Mm-hmm. It is not the state of realization itself, but it is a struggle to approach. That instead of all of your attention, that everything that is your mind operating as it normally does, which is just a splatter effect, which it is a king. If you look at what you could be, it is a king or a general, but a king, since I used that before, and all of his forces throughout the kingdom are scattered. Under normal conditions, you cannot find fault with that. Under normal conditions, I could even make a positive case for it, but it's irrelevant. I could say that under normal conditions, a man sort of has to be kind of spread out and diverse, which is not true, because you don't even have to be conscious to live. But at any rate, you can live, you can get by in life, more or less, with never bringing your forces into a focused, cohesive group. As I said, people know that it's possible. They can feel the difference, but it is normally nothing is ever done even remotely approaching this. Well, nothing's done approaching this unless it be at the bidding, at the necessity created by external conditions. That is, to concentrate. Just simple concentration is close to what we're talking about. It's not that there's no great mystical difference. But there is an operational difference, because the only time that ordinary people concentrate is when they apparently must, or when conditions are such that they cannot meet the conditions, and apparently they need to. That you're trying to figure out your income taxes, you're trying to work out a problem at work that's part of your responsibility. You're trying to do something, and everybody knows it. If it's not going well, and you're aware of the fact that, or at least you still believe that I can do this, I should be able to do it, is you go, okay, got to concentrate. Everybody knows that I have got to. My mind keeps wandering, and here I am. I've added up these figures here about my expenses, and I've added them up twice and got two different figures, and I'm not stupid. I can add. It's just arithmetic, and you're aware of the fact what it is you was trying to listen to TV, or you were still talking to somebody that you were arguing with 2 hours ago. Or you're just bitching at the IRS and the government. And you think, Jesus, I'll bitch at them later. I got to concentrate. I got to get this thing worked out. So it's not unknown. It's not anything metaphysical. But do note, again, it is the singularity of this sort of interest. The ordinary mind never concentrates unless it needs to. And I'm not questioning it, by its own observation, by its own experience at that moment, ordinary people, that is, ordinary minds, do not concentrate unless there is a need, and the need is always external, which that's not even the point either. But there always appears to be a need. That's the only reason people go, well, I've got to. It's why they go through that, well, wait a minute, I have got to concentrate. The boss is expecting this report. He's expecting me to come up with some potential solution to this problem, and here it is. I got an hour left before he's coming around to my desk. I have got to concentrate. This is the only activity in which a person has got to concentrate for no reason. Of course, all this is sort of misleading, because once you realize what's going on, to say that you're doing all this for no reason is no longer true. You're doing it because you have to do it, but that's no reason. Hey, get out of here. Don't try to pull that crap on me. That's no reason. I know it seems to be a reason. It helps keep you from going crazy. Or from going to Louisville this time of year, which can So now you got to fill it in. Which can, what? Not saying. Too many of you have friends and relatives living around Frankfurt. Out of all of cards and letters, no one ever comments on such interludes as that. They complain about my exotic recipes for juices, but nobody ever touches those. I guess they figure there's a glitch in the tape, or maybe they spliced it and left out something. Yeah, that's what you get for taking everything seriously. If you took everything with you, everywhere you went, the hobby will expand. The hobby will grow faster than perhaps any other way by which you might nourish it, is just to literally attempt. When I say attempt, do it. You can't attempt it and fail. It's to take everything with you that you own everywhere that you go. If you do that also, there's a trick in that. Two ways to look at it, or two ways to describe it. The easiest is, actually three, but the easiest to get it started is, if you do that, you end up owning less. All right, that was a simple version. Here's the same thing, a more advanced version. You end up realizing that you didn't own as much as you thought. Truly advanced version. You end up understanding that it was all junk and you didn't own it anyway, and even if you did, it was imaginary. But you still have got to gather it right there at your feet and carry it with you. If you don't do that for a while, you never know it. If you continue to stand in that room, in that locked room up here, and you treat those possessions, and no one ever looks at it this way on their own, you'll never come up with this idea. You're not taught it by anybody. It's not necessary. But if you don't realize it and then attempt to do this, you will, or to do otherwise, the rest of your life, without any question, no thought given, you end up taking everything that's in that room, in your mind, you take it to varying degrees to be very serious possessions. And I say to varying degrees, there's none of it in your room that you do not take to be of some significance, because if it is, it escapes your memory. It escapes your attention. It's like the facts that you learned, the history of the final days of Louis XIV and the aristocracy in France. And at one time, you may remember, hey, I won a prize. That was the best grade I got in high school, was that semester of history. And now you don't remember one. It's just all you can do to come up with, well, it was 18th century, wasn't it? In other words, it meant nothing. It is no longer a part of your room. It is no longer a part of your mind. So what I'm saying is, any of the possessions that you look around that you're used to, and that's one of the dangers of being used to possessions, is you're not even aware of the fact of what's there anymore. That's why you can walk home physically, or you can walk through life, but you can especially walk home physically, park your car in the garage next to all kinds closed in of junk and other cars. You can do all that while daydreaming, while bitching, while off somewhere else on the other side of the world, while worrying about, why do stamp collectors call themselves funny? All kinds of crap. Get out of the car, be drunk. Well, I shouldn't throw it in. Sober. Stagger through the house, and if it could be proven, which can only be proven to a man's own awareness, and that is people involved with such as this, he's aware of the fact, or he can be, all he's got to do is remember it, and aware of the fact. Let's just go back as far as he just parked his car. He's inside now, and he's taking off his clothes, or taking the keys out of his pocket, and he realizes, I got in the driveway, I parked my car, which he does it every night. I parked my car, knowing that there's only a few inches. I can go out there and look. I know all the junk out there. Did it like that. Got a big old thing full of 100 keys. Got the key, opened the door, had to go up 2 or 3 flights of stairs. I got here, and I might as well have been in bed asleep. I might as well have been in a daze. And yet I operate that way because you're so familiar you don't even notice. And maybe you have dropped something in the floor 2 or 3 days ago and didn't pick it up, and now you're used to it, And you come in that kind of daze. You know that. That same kind of thing. You open the door and where your mind, you're singing to one song and dancing to another. And you go through the house and you don't even have to look. And this thing that you dropped, something you knocked over, a trash can, or you walk right over it. You don't trip. That is one of the dangers from the view of this kind of activity, which, of course, call it a danger objectively is a laugh. Ha! It's a laugh. Ha! Danger. They don't make laughs like they used to. If you're not aware of your possessions, you don't even know what's there. If you do not attempt to take them with you, that is, to bring in, to solidify, to stabilize, to congeal your focus and bring it all right there next to your feet and there in the middle of the room, you're not aware of what's there. Somebody can point it out to you, or it can be brought up. Somebody can walk in your house and say something, my God, I have never seen, I've never seen an end table like that for years. That's one of those things, that must be 50 years old. And they say that was from there was a bunch of carvers up in North Carolina. And you look and you go, damn. And if it's brought out to you, you have to look. You forgot the table's there. You use it every night. You sit down and you put something over there, but you know this. It's not an attack. This is the way life is. You're not aware of what's in your room. You're not aware of what's up here. Forget the end table. Somebody brings up some subject that perhaps you don't discuss all the time. Somebody says, I understand that you claim that socialism did have some benefits and they just exercised the damn thing incorrectly post-World War II in Europe. You go, oh yeah, I did. And so I remember you said that one night. I met you a couple of years ago and we were talking. You go, oh, that's right. It has to be brought out. And if you don't understand that, what is even more subtly dangerous is all the things that you do think about all the time, right in front of you, right up here in the front of your forehead, right in here. And you're not aware of them. It's not just the things that you do not think about continually, it's the things you think about all the time that you're the least aware of. That's the basis of someone stopping another person that's really caught up talking about something. Somebody's really rolling on, making, in some conversation, they get carried away on politics or something, they're really going, blah, 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 and somebody interrupts, said, wait a minute, you just misspoke. You said the opposite when they spoke negative of something that they knew that they were speaking pro of. And they said, you said that so-and-so is not on the right track. You go, no, I didn't. And everybody standing there knows you did. Or in fact, if they go, yeah, you did, and they'll go, yeah, you did. You go, geez, I wasn't even aware of it. Again, that's taken as being nothing. Psychologists even come up with the idea of the Freudian bra and brassiere set, or slip thing. They explain it away. It happens all the time. But what does not happen all the time is for anybody to be aware of the fact, how could I be so passionate? How could I be so, as I consider me to be, intelligent in the matter of politics? I mean, really, I consider that is my main hobby, is politics. How could I stand there in front of other people who are interested, in front of other people who are knowledgeable in the field, and they mention a subject specifically in politics that is of greatest interest to me, and I started talking about what I considered me to have some insight into, and how could I have said, when I know what's in my mind, I know what I think about this one subject, how could I have said about so-and-so who is the proponent, the primary living proponent of the view I was expounding, how could I have said that so-and-so is not a blah, blah, blah? How could I have said that? No one ever asked that. Again, as I said, it's excused away. If the guy went, wow, how could I have said that? All the people listening, if they were a friendly crowd, they'd go, we all do it. We just thought it was kind of funny because we know how you feel about it, that you would even accidentally say that Prime Minister so-and-so is not in favor of such things. And everybody goes, it happens. And it does just happen. But the point I'm trying to make is it can be in the area that post facto a person claims is their field of interest, that they do give thought to, that they do reflect upon, ponder, think about, discuss. And they can still open their mouth, and what comes out of there, it's the same thing. Somebody come to your house and go, God, I hadn't seen an end table like that in 30 or 40 years. Oh, really? No, that you think, do I know I have that? And you know damn well that you set things on it every night at the end of the couch, but you have to look and go, that may be enough sales pitch for this kind of hobby, because I wanted to save enough time. There's a special offer. It's a miracle that we could come up with this. But there is a small factory in Taiwan that through some sort of mistaken programming, you know how computers are, it was already punched in, that before they could stop the run at the mill, they have come out, it's a combination. Juicer, New Testament, and thigh exerciser. And the truth is, I am not a woman, but I understand from some of the girls in the office that, in fact, the thigh exercising part of the piece of equipment was made in some strange way that I get the impression it seems to offer some unusual potential joy for female customers of the equipment. I don't know. In fact, I don't know whether they're talking about the thigh exerciser part or the New Testament part. Maybe that was what they enjoyed. In some way, when you turn the juicer and mash some button, there's I forget it's William Shatner or as somebody is reading the New Testament, and in some way it comes out through the blender. If I got this straight, at any rate, the point is it's very unusual, and I'm sure will become a collector's item in no time. And we got it at a very special deal, and so I would just like to encourage all of our faithful viewers to take advantage of us, of the deal. And until next time, do not forget Brunicelli and the 4,000-pound negotiation.